Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this new Cage the Elephant album, Social Cues. Cage the Elephant are a Kentucky alternative rock band that around the time that they debuted, I kind of wrote them off in a big way. Just thought that, at first, that they were just this other alternative rock band with a whole lot of very clean production, and, no grit and no attitude. But around the time of their debut, I feel like I kind of turned around on these guys and I've actually become quite a fan. Their debut album is a genuinely fun one, mixing elements of alternative rock with blues and even some rap thrown in. Singles like Back Against the Wall and the legendary Ain't No Rest for the Wicked are just great tunes. While tracks like James Brown and Tiny Little Robots prove that these guys really had some serious deep cuts as well. Not only that, but it was a pretty damn straightforward album that just didn't take me forever to analyze, and I just really liked what I was hearing. But 2011's Thank You, Happy Birthday instantly made me take back almost everything good that I said about their debut. And to be honest, in the early days of this humble music blog was a real nightmare for me. This album is not entertaining, not gritty, not catchy, and is just all around unbearable. And yes, that goes for the lead single, Shake Me Down. But in a shocking twist, they came back with Mellophobia next and really released their biggest and most impressive album to date. This may not be a wild or radical or genre-changing alternative rock album, but it's crunchy, filled with great hooks, and overall is just a blast. But I was right back to just kind of shrugging these guys off again in 2015. Tell Me I'm Pretty was just alright. I mean, I don't think that there's anything genuinely really bad about it, but it's just so faceless at the end of the day. Now, for the most part, from these singles, I feel like they've really toned it down, not maybe in a way where it's not interesting, but going for a much more bluesy and emotional sound. So I've been fascinated to hear the rest of this album. Let's chat about it. This album starts off with Broken Boy. As a matter of fact, the first leg of this album is freaking awesome. I absolutely love this as an intro. It's upbeat, it's sort of robotic in parts. It's actually got a really weird side to it. But the wild guitars and the overall chaotic feel to this actually make for a really interesting dynamic. I haven't heard them use this sound in years, and I'm excited that it's here to introduce us to this album. This may be some of the cleanest alternative rock you're going to hear out there, but at least Cage the Elephant know their audience and know what they're doing. Then we have this album's title track, Social Cues, and why am I legitimately getting new wave vibes here? But I have to be real with y'all, I really don't hate it that much. It's a very groovy, upbeat track with some very quirky instrumentals. Not to mention we get some of Matt Schultz's most emotive and out there vocals in years, and I kind of love it. But Cage the Elephant really do start to show this album's true colors with Black Madonna. This one is so much more somber, so much more moody. It's also got a little bit of a southern twang to it, which I don't hate either. But Cage the Elephant here continue to just push outside the box with their sound, which I really like. Not to mention, I can't place my finger on it, but there is something legitimately creepy about this track. I'm probably in the minority here, but so far, I think this album's great. And for them continued more stripped down, more bluesy tracks, I really don't think it gets much better than Ready to Let Go. It's very bluesy, but it's also got almost a grungy feel to it. I love it. And while this one's a little straightforward, to call this one not catchy would be a lie. I honestly feel like this comes very close to their classic sound that their older fans are going to be familiar with. And that one last bluesy solo, very classy. The War Is Over is another very decent tune. Once again, it's very bluesy, and we also see the return of these very eerie synths that I think are a very strange and creepy part of this album, but I actually like it. Once again, I think this very stripped down sound isn't bad at all. Now, you may have realized, but so far I've been digging a lot of this album, but certainly there are a lot of tracks here that I just can't help but shake my head at. Take, for example, this album's greatest sin, Night Running, featuring Beck, which upset the hell out of me because I'm a gigantic Beck fan. This track early on in the album is the biggest slap in the face. I don't want to hear Beck in 2019 trying to do a reggae track on his own, and which means, for damn sure, I don't want to hear Cage the Elephant and Beck doing it together. This track is absolutely soul-sucking. It is so boring. And I can't say anything good about it. It's just miserable. Then we have Skin and Bones, and like I said earlier, this is overall a very dreary, somber album. But this one, I feel like it doesn't come off nearly as good. As a matter of fact, when Cage the Elephant are off of their A game, some of these slower tunes are absolutely abysmal. The songwriting here is just a little too straightforward for me, even if I do think like Matt Schultz's performance is still really good. Overall, I just think that there's like 10 other tracks here that are just like this, but so much better. What I'm becoming late in the album is just more of the same. It's just another very slow, dreary, overly emotional tune. But this is just so flimsy, so unbearably boring. There's some genuinely emotional tracks on here. This isn't one of them. Like, sadly, I cannot tell you a single thing about this track that I remembered. So sadly, when it comes to social cues, I'm very, very torn for Cage the Elephant. I think that when they're on their A game, this is a very interesting and experimental album for them with some truly emotional performances. But then we get a lot of garbage too that's just overly sappy. Halfway through the album, House of Glass, like, yes, please, this is what I need. A nice, upbeat, grimy tune. I just am not into the vocals here at all. For Cage the Elephant, this is once again a very experimental track. And like I said, I think the very grimy, grungy sound is actually pretty cool. And hell yes, I love how out of control this track sounds. But these vocals, no thank you. Love's the Only Way is once again another very dreary, over-emotional ballad. In a lot of cases, I think that this track would actually work, but overall we've heard so much of this here. Not to mention, I have the exact opposite problem with this track that I did on House of Glass. I honestly think that Matt's vocals here are some of his most broken down and truly emotional of the entire album. Like, he sounds completely broken here. But I would literally tell you that this is the most boring, uneventful instrumental of the entire album. I really actually love the very broken down and bluesy feel of Dance Dance. But this chorus is so flat. Like, I think this track overall is really good, has some great elements to it. But this chorus to me takes all the wind out of me. I still do like a majority of this track too. Like, some of the more experimental moments here are truly fascinating. But still, I'm torn. And I really don't hate Tokyo Smoke at all. As a matter of fact, I love the very gritty riff, and Matt's performance here is downright diabolical. The chorus is punchy as hell. I mean, yeah, sure, this is still a very mixed bag of an album, but when we get standouts like this, it's actually still worth a listen. And that final breakdown that we get here, man, that is booming. Oh, but with Goodbye, as a finale, we get yet another overly emotional and dreary ballad, which I could usually deal with from these guys, but we've gotten so many of them here. They have literally melted into one another in my mind, and this one may be the sappiest of the bunch, let alone the most poorly written. And just one cringeworthy line after another, like, I give up at this point. Sadly, this is not the album that I wanted to hear from Cage the Elephant. I think that it's still worth a listen, because there are a handful, a strong handful of some of their most experimental and genuinely weird tracks that they've ever done on here. Not to mention, when they're on their A game, some of these ballads are some of their most broken down and emotional that they've ever done. But there are just too many tracks on here still that I'm just so torn on. Boring instrumentals, just flimsy vocals, not to mention way too many dreary, emotionless ballads. I still think the band has a great sound. They're one of the better, cleaner alternative rock bands, and this is still worth a listen, but still not what I wanted to hear from start to finish. I'm feeling like the absolute lightest of light sevens on this, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.